this was, maybe it was.
I think it was.
But it wasn't like a Halloween party. It was just kind of like a, hey, people come on over and chill out. There weren't any costumes or spooky music. Just
nice.
Yeah, just random hangouts, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, man. I wanted to introduce you not only as my friend, but also just being a dude that's like super into tech. That's your whole career. And we haven't had an episode yet on the podcast where we dive into just like the tech stuff in the world. And so you being like one of my dudes that are in it, we can kind of nerd out this session and talk about it. So,
cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When did you get started into Citrix as being kind of like a focal point of the career?
2008. I was working at a very large insurance company in Bloomington, Illinois, State Farm. We had a need to put in an application with Citrix, and me being one of the primary consultants that worked on lots of different projects. My documentation skills were really good. They said, hey, you want to do this? I said, sure. So I learned Citrix and put the first Citrix Farms XenApp 4.5 in at State Farm across 3 data centers.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's a good project for your first go at it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's, I created it's like a 110-page Bible of not just the Citrix process, but all the other security processes, service accounts, all of the nuances with security in, a large insurance company.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, all the constraints in each environment, including the production environment. So in just those change processes, it was pretty grueling to get things implemented.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Those are the projects where you really cut your teeth on a product and get to know it.
Well, if you just hit next through everything, you don't learn anything.
Right.
It's just like, I just hit next and it installed and I was good. If you don't run into those problems, you never know what you're going to run into. So, and you really don't know what it's doing in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just talking to, I just had, I think you met her, my friend Brendan. She was in town and I had her on as a guest the other day. We were talking about systems of learning, like the way that you master a skill. And so we were using rock climbing as a reference point, but this is a good way to introduce the topic as well from tech, is like you get the 101, the basics of a topic, and you kind of understand it. And now you can do the beginner stuff. You can explain the beginner stuff. You don't know the why, though.
Right.
The why is the critical one. So it's like I described it as like you have different phases. So beginner, intermediate, advanced. We'll use those like basic 3-tier deal. So beginner, all the ranges are white, and then you do the beginner, and that's like a lavender color now. It fills in with a lavender. Then you become an intermediate person, and that fills in with like a light green. And then like the advanced, it's like a light red or something like that.
Right.
So you go through that in your career, your trajectory of like being an athlete, being an engineer or whatever, right? And then you go through that. But as you're at the advanced level, you understand all of the advanced things, but you don't have the depth and the why. So then somewhere along in your career, your path, you come back to that beginner phase, and your depth of the beginner phase deepens. Mm-hmm. And so now that lavender color is now like a dark purple.
Right.
It like deepens. And now you understand the why, and now you can teach that, and you can explain it, and you can pass that on to people. And then then it carries on from there. The intermediate goes dark green and then dark red.
Well, it's learn by doing. I mean, I started by doing some reading, because, you got to read a little bit to figure out what you don't know before you start doing the installations. Hey, hey, I need service accounts, or I need this. I need to include these other teams in order to get the work done.
Yeah.
And then I went through the process, and then, after I went through and built it in a couple of test environments, I actually went to a training class, and really the training class for the first 2 or 3 days was I already knew this stuff because I already did it.
Right.
So learning by doing, everybody learns a little bit differently, but learning by doing is what works best for me. So, and a lot of people, I mean, it's anything, you can't read about how to catch a football. You got to go out and do it.
Right.
You can't read about throwing a baseball.
Right.
You may be able to learn a grip,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to be able to learn how to throw a curveball without doing it.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes a thing interesting anyway. It's just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
If someone's like, hey, before we do this, I'm going to teach you all this stuff. And it's like some things there's a safety factor involved, so you have to sit down and do the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, if it's a thing that you can just jump into and forget all of the extra stuff, I just want to jump into the thing and have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And because now I've had fun doing it, I've enjoyed it, it's exciting, it's cool, I'm interested, whatever. My brain is, I enjoy that process of doing that thing now because I have that. Now I'm okay to go back and do the class because I'll be interested.
Right.
Because it's something I actually enjoy.
Well, it's don't have fear. You don't have to be an expert to do something. And, it's get past the fear and just go do it. And you're going to fail. You're going to run into problems, but that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You don't learn anything if you never fail.
I love that because the fear of failure prevents people often
From
even starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, man, because I know that there's aspects within like me running my business where there is a fear factor to some of those individual aspects of, I got to launch this thing to move to the next level for the business. And I'm like, I've never done that before. I'm not great at marketing. That's
Right.
not my background. So that's always anyone that's listening that's here. Every chance I get, I'm like, yeah, marketing. I got to get marketing going.
Well, and
I got to get better at it.
Fail fast, fail often. I mean, you'll learn and you'll get there faster.
Yeah.
We've all heard that before, fail fast, fail often.
Yeah.
It's true.
Actually, I haven't heard that. Fail fast and fail often.
I mean, that's you're out there doing. You're navigating your way and learning along the way. And to me, it's the best way to learn.
Yeah. Failure has been my best teacher.
Yeah.
But it sucks, man.
It does. It does suck.
It sucks.
But I tell you what, when you're at the end of that journey, it's pretty amazing. And the stories that you have with each of those failures, I mean, that's how you teach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. You ever hear the thing like, do as I say, not as I do? Because as I do, I've learned a lot of bad habits, and maybe it's hard for me to like drop those, but I know that they don't work either.
Mm-hmm.
So don't watch me. I'm not, but that sucks because people are a product primarily, in my opinion, people are primarily a product of their environment. And the way people learn a lot is by observation. So you have these older, wiser people that have made a lot of mistakes saying like, look, don't do what I did, even though you've been watching me do it.
Right.
Even though that's the way you learned, don't do that.
Well, that's with wisdom, as you get older, you want to pass wisdom to younger folks,
Right.
whether it's your children, your family members, friends of friends, family members of friends. But a lot of those individuals, including, my son, wants to experience that himself and not actually listen to what I say or what wisdom I'm trying to pass. It doesn't have to be IT. It could be just some life experience. And, he's not going to understand it until he does it.
That's a good point.
So he's not going to take my words of wisdom because he's never done it. So he needs to go do it and needs to fail and see it. And then he can go, my dad was right.
Yeah.
Maybe I
30 years later,
maybe I should listen a little bit, but it's go do and fail because, you'll be better for it.
That's cool, man. I like that because creating the environment for the kids where I want you to fail. I want you to screw up so bad that I'm going to be there to catch you. You're not going to, that's my job as the dad. I'm going to make sure you don't fall. all the way down, but you're going to fall, and I want to be there to catch you, but I need you to fail so that you've experienced it and seen what it's like to
Absolutely.
to make that mistake.
Well, to have the experience.
Right.
You know, because if you just sit on the sideline forever, you're never going to have experience.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to get out there and do.
That's good, man. Man, you're pumping me up. This is good. We didn't intend on talking about this. But
No, and I think maybe that's probably better.
Yeah, it is good. I like it, man. You're motivating me about just trying and failing, and hey, if it happens, it happens. It's all good.
Oh, and Evel Knievel was my hero as a kid, and you know, I wanted to jump ramps and jump trash cans and do crazy adrenaline things. And you're never going to do it just, you know, winding up the little motorcycle thing and watching it jump. You had to get on your bike and go do it. And then, you know, you crashed.
Yeah.
But you learned how to not crash. So you learned.
Yeah.
By doing.
I feel I had this thing growing up as a kid. We would do like little stunt things for the neighbors. And, you know, you'd go knock on the door, and I think it was like 8 or 9 or something. We'd knock on the door and be like, hey, we're going to do a little trick thing out here, a little trick show, bike, BMX. None of us had a BMX. We're going to do a BMX stunt show. Come out here and watch, 25 cents. And so they come out, and we're going to be like, we'll be out here at 3 o'clock. And so they come out at 3 o'clock, 25 cents. They're like, whatever, just go for it, kids. I mean, looking back on it, it was probably a total shit show, but...
well, that was they were paying for entertainment, with knowing somebody's going to wreck, you know, which is why a lot of people go to race car, you know, NASCAR or whatever. Somebody's going to wreck. No, we don't want anybody to die, but we want to see somebody wreck.
Oh, we totally did, man. That's the thing. One of those times we did it. I did the little jump off of the curb or whatever, and we had like a little ramp, so we jumped, and I didn't know how to like do good jumps then, so I land. You ever do this as a kid? It only happened when I was a kid. You land flat on your ass, and it feels like your asshole just comes out onto the ground, kisses the floor, and goes back in, and it's like it hurts so bad. So that happened. That was fun.
Yeah. Jump on dirt. Not on the concrete.
Yeah. I grew up in Las Vegas. They had, everything was desert when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So you go like a block down the street on your bike, and there's some open desert, and we'd make ramps and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the dirt's hard as concrete.
Is it? I didn't think so.
In Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that caliche, like all that.
Right.
But in those deserts, they would do this thing where they pile up all this dirt from
like
other
dunes.
construction sites or something. There weren't like EPA stuff back then, I guess. And so there'd just be tons of piles of dirt, and so it's loose.
Yeah.
And then we'd like do a little digging, make a little ramp, make a trail, and
awesome.
That was fun. Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
So how do you explain what Citrix is to people, to the uninitiated?
I mean, it's a very good question. You know,
that was a long breath.
Yeah, it's you know, there's an elevator pitch for, you know, a lot of people that if you're in a customer's site.
Yeah.
But kind of how I mean, I'm gonna go a little off script.
That's why we're here, man.
You know, kind of how, you know, my mom and dad, you know, they know I work in IT.
Right.
But they really don't know what I do.
Right.
So, and it's very high level how I was like application, desktop, server, cloud, all virtualization. So thinking of your laptop or an application and it just running not on your machine, it's running somewhere else, but it looks like it's running on your machine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, that's kind of how I just state that to them.
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to explain that, you know, everybody's heard, you know, well, not everybody's heard a Citrix elevator pitch, but, you know, that in a nutshell, you know, and you know, people thinking that Citrix, you know, app virtualization, desktop virtualization is a legacy piece of software. You know, I disagree. You where you run applications and desktops, that's going to change. It's not always going to be an on-premise thing. You may run it in one of the public clouds, whether it's Google, Oracle, AWS, Azure. But you're always going to have somebody that wants to keep it. They're going to keep it in their data center. So, I mean, it's always going to be some type of hybrid type model. And really, in order for what people are considering legacy to go away is for application developers to actually develop applications that aren't fat, memory intensive, CPU intensive. I think we're quite a ways away from that, 5+ years or more. Because there's going to be applications that just aren't going to run like a web type application and truly be able to just sit in a cloud and people connect to it.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. And I'll come back to this about the applications being isolated, because I do want to I want to circle back on the Citrix thing, like what is it to the uninitiated? And it's interesting because someone's never heard of it, then how do you explain like what it is? And I've always used examples like physical manifestations of things in the room. So I'll like say, okay, you know how your laptop, you have your copy of Windows on your laptop, and then you log in and you got all your stuff on there, but you're the only one using that laptop. So let's pretend that your laptop is a pizza box, and all of your stuff from your laptop is in that pizza box, and there's one big pizza in that box that's your pizza, and that's your laptop, right? But now, let's say we've got a company that has thousands of people, and it's too much space. We can't have all these pizza boxes that take up too much room. So, and what's funny is that the servers literally are called pizza boxes. But anyway, they don't know that, right? And so I say like, hey, we're going to take this pizza and we're going to cut it into 8 slices. And now you get 1 slice of that pizza. And so that slice of pizza is yours, and it's all your stuff is on that 1 slice. But there's 7 other dudes that are like with you in that pizza box, and that's virtualization. That's Citrix. That's the virtual desktops, virtual apps. Like you're getting a slice of a thing that's like compiled into the one pizza box, and at least people have like a frame of reference for somewhat of what we're doing, what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, it's most people know what now more than 15 years ago. They have a phone. They have a tablet, and then, Apple's got their products. You still have all different flavors of Windows machines that run an operating system. So, you can centralize your applications or desktops. You could still use a Windows endpoint, and as a bring your own or a corporate type device, and use Citrix to connect into a centrally located virtual apps, desktops, in all your files in a very secure location.
Right.
Which gives you the ability to use any device to connect to the same resources from day to day. So you could go from your work PC, you're connecting to, let's call it a virtual desktop, Windows 10, Windows 11. And then from there, you're jumping to, different applications, whether they're web applications, SaaS applications, healthcare. And, it's 4:45 and you got to go pick up the kids. All right. So you disconnect from your session, and then you pick up the kids and go home and go, I want to finish this, document or this email. You connect in from your home PC and you connect right in where you left off.
Right.
So, from a security standpoint, your business likes it, your security team likes it, because everything is staying in those walls of the data center. And then all you're getting at your whatever device you're using is just screen scrapes. It's just visuals.
Yeah. Yeah. What you mentioned a few minutes ago is the where the applications are going. I think that's an interesting journey, because organizations that have a need for a desktop solution, I would say arguably like Citrix is probably the best place to go for that kind of thing, right? Centralized management of virtual desktops. that's the place to do it.
Well, and I think what it kind of triggers with me is, if you go out and read Citrix articles today, you know, they'll say legacy VDI, legacy application delivery.
Who says that?
There's
like news publications or something?
Yeah, you'll see it says legacy. And it's, to me, you know, it's been around a long time.
Right.
It's been around a long time because it's an outstanding.
That's the question. And I want to get back to the app thing, but like, what is better then for desktops? If they're calling that legacy, then what is the replacement? And so it's like, well, it's just going to be a desktop in the cloud, or it's going to be some desktop somewhere. If the use case that your company requires necessitates some kind of desktop OS, it's going to be somewhere, and you can't call that legacy if that is meeting the current 2023 use case. That's not legacy anymore. That is current. That's modern. That's future. Whatever.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think the legacy term comes in because this technology has been around for so long. You know, it's kind of like calling your 20-year-old Honda classic. I was like, it looks great. It runs great. Yeah. It's not a classic. I mean, it's not a 56 Chevy.
When do cars? Yeah. When do
20 years?
20 years is a classic car?
20 years.
No kidding. Hold on. Hold on. So you're telling me a 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse is considered a classic car?
It's a classic.
Pull up a 2003 Mitsubishi. We're going to look at this thing. I want to see a 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse. Dude, that was fast. Images. Let's see this thing.
Does it look like a classic car?
Show the people. Let's see.
I mean, it's awesome.
Actually, that might be a classic. Is that shared? Yeah. Let's see if it's up. Kelly Blue Book. I was looking for that big picture. It vanished on us. Ooh, actually, that does look pretty good.
Yeah, and if you look at
it's nostalgic looking.
Yeah, if you look at BMWs and things like that, 20 years, from 1976 or 1977 to a 1957.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there was the body styles and
just I watched this video. I think it was the Seinfeld. Who is it? People in cars getting coffee? Comedians in cars?
Yeah.
Comedians? Okay. They're in cars someone's is in a car and they're getting coffee. And he got this, it was like in season 1. It was like this old BMW and it was all stainless steeled interior and it was all like solid switches, man. The craftsmanship, it looked like a spaceship, man. Like It was just perfectly, everything was precision. And the reason why they stopped manufacturing it was because it was too expensive to produce. They weren't making any money. But it was like, you watch the interior of this thing, the exterior, it looks like a piece of art. And I like that. I miss that. I don't know if there's any modern cars that have they're a work of art in 2020s,
Not that are not Bentleys or, $200,000 cars, that really look like spaceships or, like you're sitting in your living room while you're driving down the street.
Yeah, I used to do valet parking years ago. You know Javier's? Mexican restaurant in uptown Dallas?
I haven't been there.
They got you like cigars?
Yes.
They got a badass cigar room.
Nice.
I mean, they have the cigar room. If you're in uptown Dallas and you're hanging out and you want to go on a patio and you want cocktails and you just want to live it up, they've got the place for it. And so you're hanging out on the patio with the cigars and all that. But they've got Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, they've got Bentleys out the ass just driving on through that valet thing. So when I was doing valet back in the day, I was parking cars there and I'm driving Bentleys and all kinds of stuff. When you get in a Bentley, dude, have you sat in the driver's seat of a Bentley? You have elevated into this other dimension, man. Right. I mean, the floor mat is memory foam, dude. The thing where your feet rest, it's made out of memory foam, man. You can feel your feet, you put your feet on the floor mat and it soaks into the dude. So he's gonna try to look up a Bentley interior, dude. Get any one of those pictures. That red one looks dope.
So it's like literally getting into a cockpit of a airplane, fighter jet.
Can you just zoom in on the? There it is. Oh my God! Look at that thing.
Yeah, it's like sitting in your living room.
They keep vanishing on us. Yeah, just like zoom in on that picture if you can. Look at this. That's all wood grain interior, man.
That is not a Honda Accord.
Dude, what was your first car?
79 Monte Carlo.
Ooh.
It was a nice car.
That's
really
classy.
It
Yeah.
was.
I wasn't ready for that one. That's good.
It had nice curves. It was 4-door. Actually, no. It was 2-door. It was a 2-door. It was nice. Had a 4-barrel carburetor. Nice.
What does that mean? I don't know what
It wasn't fuel injected.
Okay.
I mean, it had a carburetor that, had to take in air, pull in the gas.
Right. What does 4-barrel mean, though? What's that part?
It's just, I'm not really...
4 pipes or something?
Well, it's like little 4 things for the air holes, and it would flip open, pull in air and gas.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Like you can see it wobbling in and out, like taking in what it needs.
Yeah, it's like classic cars that have carburetors. Watching them, when they pop the hood, I mean, you can see it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not like on a Mustang or, a Dodge Charger or Challenger today. You're not going to see that. You're going to hear it, but you're not going to see it.
Yeah, when you open the hood on like a new car, you don't feel like you're looking at an engine. It feels like a big thing of plastic in there.
Right.
There's an engine under there, but they cover it up with this whole show.
Yep.
And you're like, what am I looking at here? Like, I know my cars from the 90s and early 2000s. Like, I know, okay, there's the alternator, there's the battery, there's, like I can identify all the parts. But now when you open a hood on a new car, I don't know what I'm looking at.
And
like it's just something.
Well, they cover it up, but then everything is so tightly put in, it's really hard to get to.
Right.
That's why most people can't work on them anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is the electronics too. Like there's so much stuff going on the computer, all that. Like you need some kind of engineering deal.
My 79 Monte Carlo had no computer.
Yeah. Right.
And if it did, it would have ran DOS.
Analog. So, yeah.
DOS like trial version.
Yeah. Well, we're getting into like they got quantum computing going on now, and what is it going to be like in how long does it take before you integrate quantum computers into a car? And now the car is like crunching like equations at the quantum level to like solve your driving habits and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would be incorporated in there, but it's interesting to think about.
Maybe it would go really fast, drive fast.
I hope so.
It should be able to make quicker decisions like in a Tesla.
Yeah, right? Like what if you have an internal combustion engine led by a quantum computer that can calculate the exact fuel oxygen ratios needed in first gear, second gear, third, like it's crunching all of that, so it's delivering in like nanoseconds, like delivering the exact adjustments needed to make this thing the baddest beast on the planet.
I need to go 1,000 miles. I have $40.
For gas?
How can I get there? Get me there as efficiently as possible. Could it do it? That'd be interesting.
That is $40, man.
Just big.
How much per gallon are we talking about? This is going to be 40
40
years in the future. Gas is going to be $8, $10 a gallon.
That was kind of a hypothetical, but you get the gist.
I do get the gist. That would be cool.
It's like, this is how much I have. How far can I go?
Right. Yeah. So. That'd be fun. I bet you the computer could do it. It'd just be like, you can do it. You're just going to be going 8 miles an hour the whole time.
Don't forget the bike rack.
That's right. Oh, in case, the last 400 miles, you're going to run out of gas. You can do it. You just need leg power for the bike. Talking about those apps, though, because I know we lost track here. I had fun with the cards, but talking about the apps, like if you are delivering a ton of apps as a company, their containerization of applications is definitely a contender, I think, in the mix. Because instead of like getting the hypervisor, which is the pizza box for the uninitiated. And you got the hypervisor. That's your pizza box, and then you layer in the operating systems, the Windows servers in most cases, or Linux servers, and then you load all the applications on there. Instead of doing that, instead of the hypervisor, you got the containerization software, and then instead of a VM, you've got the container that has everything the app needs to function, all the driver files, all the code, all the stuff, right? And maybe even all the data, whatever. And then you've got that. And so if you're strictly an app shop, that seems to me to be like a contender against having like a virtual application delivery system through a guest OS, a hypervisor. Like you're adding layers there that aren't necessary, I guess.
I think from a technology and from a theory perspective, yes. From what I see in what we're doing, in this large metropolitan area that we live in DFW, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Nobody's really jumping on board. They're trying it, but it's not on a grandiose scale. Like, I've got customers that virtualize, 600, 700, 800 apps, 1,000 apps.
Yeah.
And, it's not taking a bite into what is considered legacy, which is, to me, prime time.
Right. Yeah, and scale is a good word, because can you scale something like that at that level where you have that many apps, or not even just that many apps, but where you have a complex group of users that are accessing those apps? Will containerization provide for that? And I don't know the answer to that, but it's an interesting thought. And I think,
does it make it more complex? Even more complex than what everybody is used to managing today? Because if you're really going to replace this, it's going to have to be simplified, right? It's going to have to be a little bit easier,
right?
A little bit easier, a little faster, more secure. How much more can you secure it? But yeah, it's going to have to be simpler. I mean, because if you're going to break down these applications, it's got to be simpler.
Yeah, I think about the hardware. Well, a few angles, right? Let's unpack this from a hardware level, because architecturally it seems to be more simplistic, because you're cutting out one or two layers out of the whole stack. Okay, so that seems to be more simplistic. So the advantage, the value gain there, are you trading something off? Because in those containerization services, do they provide that front end, that same kind of front end, that digital workspace? Do they provide that? And are the users getting the same experience? And is the policy management at the same level, where you can create the distribution of policies based on these complex groups, based on complex patterns, and identify, like, is that stuff there? And if it's not, then like what you said is probably true, where, it's just not ready for prime time.
Yeah, think about peripherals, passing through peripherals that are attached at the endpoints,
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, if that's a limitation, that's basically a showstopper.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think in an organization, like, you could probably identify a group, and you say, you know what, we've got these 20 or 30 apps that are probably good candidates for this use case. But then now what does that mean for your workforce? Because now you've got a workforce that has to manage this separate legacy, like traditional virtual apps and desktops environment, right? Like, it's tried and true. The people are all trained up on it. They know how to do all that stuff. And then you got a containerization thing over here where now they've got to learn it, and that's fine. Maybe they're really techie and nerdy and they want to get into it and all that. But now you've got a split sense of management of the entire enterprise, where a majority of things are over here because it works, and then this small patch works over here. Well, that's fun from like academic point of view. You know, hey, we're going through the motions of academically moving this bunch of apps over here, but is it actually like productive in the sense of overall? Because operationally now we have to support this thing. And if we're putting these apps in production, then operationally that makes it difficult to, from the top down, to like push out all kinds of things: operations, business management, licensing costs. Like these are all things that are all considerations before you're actually getting down into like managing and administrating the software itself.
What does it mean for different teams? It's how many different teams does it take to support it? How easy is, that application owner able to support it in that containerized platform?
Yeah.
So, are you adding complexity to something that doesn't need it? It's not something I have direct familiarity with. Conceptually, yes, but do I have customers that are doing it today that I interact with? No.
Yeah. I think for me, it's from an academic point of view. Like I've played around with some of this stuff, and it's lab test stuff, but nothing where it's like I've got a customer that I'm supporting where they're, they've got this in production or anything like that.
Or they're doing a massive rollout. Says like, look, we've got to move 100 apps.
Right.
Nobody's doing that. Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I almost want that though. I kind of want a customer to come along and be like, "Hey, man, we've got 50 apps. We're like a SMB company, small medium business. We just want to have you come in and do a little consulting for us." And I've already got the relationship, so they're handing me this project. It'd be fun. It'd be cool to set that up and see how that goes. Do that with a handful of their apps first and do a rollout, because I really am interested to see what kind of performance metrics we can see as a side-by-side comparison of what it was before and then after.
I think you'd have a better opportunity for that if it was a lot of homegrown applications that you have this huge development team that could develop, fine-tune those applications and could support them outside of your traditional, hey, here's this app team, here's this app team. Well, this is like the third app owner, so the original one doesn't really know much. This new guy doesn't know that much about the application. So as a, whether you're a Citrix guy or any virtualization guy that's working with an app owner that doesn't know anything about their app,
that happens so many times, man. I have so many stories where I just know, you go into the client, you do a consulting gig, and they've got this thing that Bob made in 1998, and then they updated it at some point in 2006 so it could work with us, or after 2008, right? 2008 server is probably where you see a lot of these baselines for the homegrown apps. They fixed it for 2008 server, and then it can't go into 2012, 16, whatever, right? And so it's just sitting on server 2008, and they don't know what to do with it, but it's so hypercritical to the environment. And it's pardon my French, everyone listening, but pay a fucking developer to come in and fix your app, dude. You can't take a shit app and then inject it into some top tier delivery solution and expect that it's going to work, man. That's not how that works, man. The base code has to operate first before you start, doing other stuff with it.
And that's what I consider legacy. Legacy is, okay, we have an application that has to run on 2003 or 2008. You're not going to get any support from it, not from Microsoft and not from any other vendor.
Right.
That's legacy. So yeah, it's legacy virtualization, but it's legacy operating systems. It's a legacy application. So I think, they kind of translate this legacy app to, what is still, very, very viable virtualization technology.
What do you see for machine learning happening? Because I know there's some machine learning in the analytics portion of Citrix, but I see that with other vendors too. You've got machine learning coming in where they're observing user behavior and then flagging that if there's a security thing. So I'm aware of that. That's present day, generally available software, right?
Yes.
What do you think we're going to see in 5-10 years in terms of AI and machine learning and how that'll incorporate into what we do on a day-to-day, commercial level?
Interesting.
Wasn't trying to stump you, but it's just let's hypothesize, man. Let's dream.
I think machine learning is necessary because, you have all kinds of other vendors that, hey, give us your data and let's we'll give you a good reporting mechanism, or we'll start showing you trends. So machine learning is absolutely necessary. And I think as you integrate that in with AI and being able to take automated actions, or it's like you set a policy and say, hey, these people need to be notified immediately, or block this, or allow this, but give a notification. All of those, the machine learning and then those responses, they're absolutely necessary. And that technology is here. I think from a consumer, from a large scale consumer of that data, I mean, it's, what I've seen, it's hard to put a price on it. And it's, even though it's valuable information, it's, sometimes it seems like a hard sale. Whether it's, do customers, do they not really understand the value? But from a sales perspective, it's been a little difficult to monetize it. And, it's a great technology. It's definitely needed. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's just, getting that traction, just like with, Microsoft event logs. It's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
And, pulling all of that information, all of the logs from Microsoft, you've been able to dump those, but most people couldn't do anything with them, not efficiently.
Yeah.
So, as we advance, machine learning, AI, the reporting, and I think some of the automations, if you build more automations into it to make it easier for admins or directors or VPs or anybody to go in and go, I want this, 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 and this. I want it on this date, and, email it to me.
Right.
That's where I think it needs to go. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, I mean, it's just going to be harder for to get actually customers using the data that is already being collected, because almost every vendor is collecting tons and tons of data. Just need to basically translate it into something very useful and easy to use.
Provides value. It's gotta,
yes.
You can't give me another task. If you give me another task, I'm gonna jump ship. But
right.
It's got to be something that makes it easier. You mentioned something earlier, like the Windows event logs. So I have been the dude, like, I won't get into the whole career trajectory, but I was the dude, like, analyzing Windows event logs and, like, fixing Windows servers and stuff. Like, I was that guy at one point. And there's a lot of dudes that do that job. And so it's just, like, sifting through that. And now I've got an event ID. And now I've got to figure out, like, what does that mean? And there's limited information. As much as information as we have on the web, like, for that event ID, there's like 4 articles, right? And you're like hoping that the article applies to your exact situation. And then you look up an article, and the article has an event, that event ID, but it's not quite the exact situation. And so that it doesn't quite apply, and the fix they describe isn't applying to your situation. So you're like, shit. That's where I see a massive value from machine learning.
Yes.
Like, where it does all that research for you, and it has analyzed, it has access to the Microsoft KB, like their internal KB. It has access to the web. It has access to the logs of all of your servers and everything. And
all the patches.
That's it.
Because that's key.
That's it. Yeah, so it takes all your patches that you have in your environment. So it analyzes your environment. It takes external knowledge and all that, and then it narrows it down, and it says, "Hey, Steve, this is we saw this event log, event ID the other day, and we analyzed it, and we think this is the best fix for you." Like, thanks, machine learning. That's it. That's what I wanted. That's the shit I'm looking for. Don't give me, as the engineer, I think that we spend as an engineer, like let me rephrase. Engineers spend a lot of time just researching, looking for the solution, rather than just like doing the job. It seems, right? Like, I know researching is part of the job, but it's like we spend a ton of time doing the research. Whereas if the machine learning came in, the AI, and just gave us that, and we did that, we'd be so much more productive, so much more proactive in being able to prevent things from happening, because we've gotten all the errors and all the catch up out of the way, all the troubleshooting, and now we can start innovating and being proactive. So I see that as being like a massive value for the machine learning stuff.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Let's you've heard of the ChatGPT thing, right?
Yeah, I probably haven't.
Pull this thing up, dude. John's going to pull this up. So this is a machine learning deal.
Yep.
ChatGPT, so it's OpenAI. You've seen the Dolly stuff, the AI art?
Yeah.
Okay. So you say, hey, give me a piece of art based on these parameters. We'll look at that in a second, but this is what I thought was amazing, because I was doing something like this. I was using this for my website the other day, and actually it was giving me content to articles to write for my website.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so check this out. Name, what was your car again? What was the first car?
79 Monte Carlo.
Okay. What kind of, ask what kind of carburetor does a 79 Monte Carlo use? So he's putting, I think he put 97.
No, it's 79. That's it.
There, now he's got it.
Monty, M-O-N.
I think, but look, it fixes it. It knew it.
Oh, nice.
So here it is. It's giving you, look, four barrel carburetor. It knew it. Dude, look at the detail. So it's giving you it likely would have used a Rochester quadrajet carburetor, which was a 4-barrel carburetor commonly used on many GM vehicles of that era. It was designed to improve the fuel efficiency and emissions of the engine. Now watch. It remembers what you've been talking about. So we can say, what was the fuel efficiency of that engine? So when you're doing Google searches, it doesn't remember what you were talking about. Oh, man, we got a little caps lock thing. And so then it remembers that we were talking about a Monte Carlo. So it retains context of the conversation. So boom, now it's talking about EPA, 13 miles a gallon, 18 on the highway. However, it's important to note that these ratings are based on tests performed. So you can keep going, though. Now watch this. This is going to blow your mind.
All right.
Tell it that you're building a website about the 1979 Monte Carlo. Period. Don't hit enter. Now say, next sentence, say, give me an outline for that website. Hit enter. Look at this. It's dumping out. You're sharing this, right, John? It's dumping out introduction, a whole thing about the introduction, history, design, performance, restoration. It's giving you all the stuff you need to make a website about the 1979 Monte Carlo. In this gallery, look, images, it knows exactly what you should do. So when you go to build a website about the 79 Monte Carlo, you're like, where should I put what are the topics? The machine learning thing, what it's been given is like a data dump of all of humanity, and it knows that the most successful websites incorporate certain things into all of its stuff. And based on all of that research, it knows this is the best outline you can get, generally for the 79 Monte Carlo. Now watch. Hold on, don't do that just yet. Now say, write for me all of the content for each of these sections so I can copy and paste that into the website. Change at the beginning, write the content. Yeah, write the content based on these sections for the website. Yeah. Now, not only did it give you the outline, look at this. It's dumping out literally the content, all of the articles. And so it's going to take us a couple minutes or whatever for it to watch that or whatever. But do you see this? It's writing an article for you.
Pretty amazing. You could have wrote some of my term papers and maybe in the 80s.
Right? So I was doing this the other day for the website. I wanted a blog article about different different stuff or whatever, right? I won't get into that, but I just said, hey, give me, you know, the content. So it dumped out an article for me. And obviously I have to go in and write my company name and do a few tweaks and stuff, but it basically gave me like an 85-90% solution
right
that I can now go in and tweak with my own stuff. But this is incredible to me. It blew my mind to see that that this even exists.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's pulling. Look at all this data it's pulling. I mean, it's telling you the engines. It's giving you like sentences that feel like a human was writing this, and that's what's so eerie to me. That there's nobody out there, like there's no dude writing this. It's like a computer knows all about a '79 Monte Carlo.
It's because the information's there.
Right.
It's just got to be accessed.
It's not. But that's the thing. When you Google something, it gives you that information, but it doesn't give it to you like this.
No.
This is giving it to you in like a human feel.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I hadn't really done much with it, or really researched it very much, until we were chatting about it, yesterday. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very cool, man. I mean, it'll retain the entire conversation, so we can start getting into like.
And you know what? It didn't have any misspellings.
Is that like
Yeah, it didn't.
Do other things have that?
Well, I mean, if you type it, I mean, we're always going to type something. We get a letter back. Leave out a letter. I mean, it's all spelled corrected.
Oh, like if we do typos, it still knows what we're talking about?
No. No. I mean, it spit all that out with no typos.
Right.
I didn't even say Monte Carlo. So it knew.
Yeah. There was a misspelling on the type of car, and it corrected it and just kept it going.
Right. It knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
It's crazy because it understood the context of the question. And to me, that's wild, man, because like what's going to happen in like a few years? 5-10 years, because this is obviously a novelty right now, but I would argue that it's not even it's not even quite a novelty, because it's giving me real world tangible things that I can use on my company website.
Well, what if you put that to voice?
Oh, like a voice box or something?
Yeah, coming back at you. Is it going to be in a robot?
Like an Alexa or something?
Well, I mean, Alexa kind of does that already to a degree. But I don't think not to this extent.
Well, I mean, this thing's writing like whole letters and stuff. I mean, yeah,
it could write a whole paper.
Yeah. What? Give it some stuff, man. Tell it to write you a paper. Or I guess John's writing it. Write a paper on the history of muscle cars.
Nice.
Oh, dude, it just starts dumping it out. So I think you have to kind of, what happens, I've messed around with it. I will find the limits of its logic, and I'll get into a logic argument with it, which is kind of fun. So anyone that likes to like argue with robots, please get in the ChatGPT. It's really cool, actually. So I've gotten into a logic argument with it about its data. It says, oh, my data only goes up to 2021. And so then I'll ask it a question about some statistics from 2021, and it'll say, I only have data from 2021. I'm like, but if your data is from 2021, then you should be able to answer this question. It's like, oh, I apologize for the confusion, but my data only goes to 2021. I'm like, if you have data from 2021, then you should be able to answer this question. How far into 2021 does your data go? And then we get into a whole thing about how far that is. So then I asked it a question, how many COVID deaths were there in the U.S. in May of 2021? And it had the answer. Then I asked, how many COVID deaths were there in June of 2021? And then it gave me that same bullshit logic response, like, I don't have information about 2021 or whatever, right? And I was like, and I said, okay, by our conversation, I understand that your data only goes to May of 2021, and you don't have any data from June of 2021. Is that right? And it said, yes, that is correct. I only have data that goes up to May of 2021. And then I asked it, well, why don't you just say May of 2021? You're giving me a whole year, and there's a lot of shit that happened in this whole year, and why don't we go to May? And so I'm getting into this whole discussion, and then an hour later, I'm like, I've just been talking to a robot for an hour. Like, what am I doing? But it's fun. It's fun to play around with it.
Should have replied, this is a trial version.
Oh, it should have.
This is a trial version.
Yeah, it should have told me that. Yeah, for sure. Well, it did say it's a machine learning model.
Right.
How long was this article that it wrote, John? That's a pretty good paper, man. Yeah. So what's cool about it is you can now add details to it. You can say, I'm writing this at the college level, and I need to have so many words, blah, 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 and it'll rewrite the paper for you based on those new parameters that you add.
Nice.
It's pretty wild. But you can start having fun with it. Tell it that you are a vampire hunter who drives a 79 Monte Carlo. Do a period at the end of that, and then now say, write the paper including that fact about me. Okay, so let's see what it does so far.
For the important purpose, hunting vampires.
As a vampire hunter, the 1979 Monte Carlo serves as a reliable and powerful tool in the pursuit of these supernatural creatures. Yes! Yes. Its large V8 engine provides the necessary power to outrun vampire victims, and its aerodynamic... Scroll up so I don't miss that part. Vampire victims, and its aerodynamic design allows for quick and agile maneuvering through narrow alleys and city streets. How does it know that I'm going to be there? The car's classic styling also serves as a subtle disguise, blending in with ordinary vehicles on the road and allowing for stealthy stakeouts. Dude, it totally changed the whole context of the article.
Ample storage for hunting equipment, including wooden stakes, garlic, and holy water.
Yes, I love it. This is the best. Dude, I feel like with this, I don't even need to watch movies anymore. Like, I can create my own fiction, my own entertainment. Serves as a reminder of the legacy and responsibility of hunting vampire. Ooh, vampire singular, like vampire is like no S at the end. Is it vampires or a vampire is a singular plural?
I would only want to hunt one at a time.
Right. Yeah, you never know with the supernatural creatures, like the fictional stuff. Like, is it the zombie that's like, or is it the one with Brad Pitt where they're like running full sprints?
Yeah, you don't want those.
No, you don't want those. Those would be the worst. Yeah, that'd be done, man. I think we wouldn't survive from that one.
No.
If you got 1,000 full sprint zombies coming after you, I don't care how good with a gun you are, you're done. The game's over.
Yeah, I actually did. It was a zombie run, probably 6 or 7 years ago. It's a 5K with obstacles, and they had zombies, but they had the regular zombie, and they had the sprinting zombie. And you had 3 flags. It was like flag football. You had 3 flags, and if you had a flag left at the end, you got a survival medal. I did survive, but it was not easy. It was not easy because the ones that sprint at you will start walking and limping around like they're one of the slow ones, and then they start sprinting at you. It's like, I mean, it was crazy. It was a lot of fun though. I had a blast.
How does that work from a typical race? Because I know you have like your pace setters in a race.
Well, I mean, whether a 5K or if it's a 5K obstacle or a mud run,
right?
This one it was 5K obstacles, water, beams, walls, big huge slides. It had barbed wire you had to crawl underneath that was charged, so it would electrocute you.
What? Where is this?
It was in Forney, Texas.
You get shocked?
Yeah.
They shock you?
And then, you had this big slide, and it had like a swarm of zombies at the end, and you had to like dodge and weave and run and get past them. And then you had to slide underneath this fence. The fence was charged. I didn't know until I was leaving, and it shocked me. It was crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
Dude, what is the waiver on that thing? Because there's so much stuff that could go wrong on that compared to like a typical 5K.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't care what the waiver was.
No, I know. I'm thinking about the legalities of it. Like,
but at the end, I was kind of thirsty.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to say June or July when we did this. And I went to get a water. And they said, that'll be $3. And they said, but the beer's free.
What?
I was like, okay, forget the water. So, grabbed a couple of beers and,
You're dehydrated from running a race, and they're like, here's free alcohol that dehydrates you.
It was sponsored by a beer company, but it was.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun, man. Can you, when the zombie comes up to try to grab your flag, can you like smack his hand away or something?
Oh, you try. Yeah, you do everything you can.
Oh, so you're getting physical with these dudes.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
None of them tried to tackle me, which is good.
Yeah.
So,
man, are you guys running on like a road, like a paved road?
No,
or?
it's like dirt trails.
Okay.
Dirt
like in the
trails.
backwoods or something?
Mm-hmm.
This is cool. What's the name of this event?
It called it a zombie run.
Oh, he's got it. You've already got this. Look at this guy. He's already got some zombie run stuff. Pull up some of these pictures.
I don't know if they still do it in Forney, but that's where they did it. Forney, Texas.
This guy doesn't seem to mind that there's like zombies coming after him. There's like a old lady getting chased by a zombie. Oh, she's juking. Yeah, look at this guy. He's trying to grab her flag, and she's like, get out of here. Oh, there you go. She's just like in a dress. This is hilarious, dude. Just trying to grab their flags. It's like a dead clown. The clown zombie is always the scariest one. It's always like some gross fat guy that died. Like had half his face blown off.
But see, like that building right there,
Uh-huh.
that's it, they have the smoke and stuff. You had to crawl through it, and they had the barbs hanging down that would zap you.
Weird.
Oh yeah, it was a trip.
Huh. This is cool, man. It makes it a lot more exciting because you got this adrenaline thing, like someone's chasing you, trying to get your flags. Oh, that's a good shot. That's a nice picture there. He's got all these people coming after him. That's fun. What year was this?
I want to say I did it. It was like 2015, 2016.
Okay. Do they still do it?
I think so.
Yeah. I wonder if they like shut it. They obviously shut it down during COVID, but I wonder if it's like still happening. There we go. October 21st. Well, that's a while from now.
It's Denison. That's not that far.
Yeah,
it's
that's
up in
not
Waco.
that far. Waco?
Yeah.
I could do the Waco one.
I'd do it. Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, man. That says 2017. That feels like that's a dead website. Go up to the top there where they had the events. Let's just click on this October 21st one because that's Denison's not too far. And they do I would do the 10K. The 5K feels like it'd be over too fast. I'm like, if I got people running after me, I want to feel like the threat of something like a little bit longer.
Well, 10K give you it will give you a lot of exercise.
Yeah, so that's October. It's so hard to like schedule something like a ways out that far. Like October, I don't know what I'm doing in October.
That's probably only like $35-$40,
Right now?
probably.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good time, man. I didn't know you did that.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Did Cowtown half marathon with a buddy a couple of years ago.
What's different about that? Oh, it's just a typical half marathon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always had an issue with, it's kind of a running joke with people around me, like, they're like, do you want to go for a walk? I'm like, nah, I don't want to go for a walk. I want to, like, hike a mountain. I want to put a pack on my back. I want some kind of variety.
Right.
Because when you walk, like, there's a park behind my house, and we just, like, walk around the trail, and it's like, I'll go for a walk with my mom. Go for a walk. She, wants to go for a walk. That's fine. But, it just feels like what am I doing?
Right.
I want something happening, I want like I need something to explode. I need to run away from something or run towards something or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, that's just 'cause my brain's all messed up. But yeah. But I would definitely do the zombie one because that sounds like a lot of fun. Have you ever heard of these shooting events where you do they have like tactical games, and so you're doing the 10K, but incorporated into that is some obstacles, and then you come up to a thing, and it's like a 2 or 3 gun event, and so then you shoot some stuff with the pistol, and then you like move on to the next event, and then the rifle, shotgun maybe.
I've heard of them. I had never done one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought I did one. There's a place in Waco that does. I thought they were doing it. It's like a 2-man match, and you go and do a bunch of these target stuff, but there's nothing in between the target events. And so then we were just kind of doing a lot of sitting around waiting to get to the next target event, and like there's a line of dudes waiting to get to shoot the next target, and we're like, this isn't quite what we had in mind. We wanted to be like low crawling through the thing, and then you show up, and it's like there's a thing to shoot, but
zombie run with shooting event. Just you got to make sure that all the zombies aren't close to the shooting part.
Yeah, that would be cool. You'd have to separate that. The liability on that would be like insane. Insurance, but that would be really cool. You kick it off, you're running, zombies start chasing you, and then there's a certain cutoff point from like a safety level.
Yeah, the shooters cut off to the right.
Yeah.
And you do your event, and then you come back and join the zombie race.
Yeah, zombies aren't allowed to interrupt the shooting part. Like there's a whole safe zone. Like shooting is separate from zombie running, but that would be pretty cool.
It'd put a totally different feel on the whole thing.
For sure, man. Because
after you hit your targets, it's like, rawr.
Right. Well, it's not only that. It's like you just got done running for your life, basically, and then now you have to accurately put rounds down range. That would be cool, because now it's not just that I've been jogging or running with a pack on my back, or I've been dude, then the next level, you add land navigation. You don't know where you're going. You just know you're navigating to like different points, and you're being chased. Now it's like a full culminating event. Like, that would be cool. Yeah, basically you're just practicing war with like dead people. It'd be fun. So what's the what else, man? Ooh, shit, I fucked up my mic. What's the what do you see like the next level thing that you're going to do with technology in like career trajectory, things that you're interested in? Maybe it's not even available yet, but you're like looking down the road at it as being something that like kind of excites you.
Security. I mean, there are some things in IT that I haven't done in my career. Networking and, getting past, like AV type security, because I've done that, firewall, like Windows firewall, McAfee firewall on endpoints as part of my desktop engineer journey.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's networking and security. There are a couple of things that I haven't done in my career. I have sat on DMZ committees, Windows security definition groups with, where we were a panel, and if somebody wanted something, they came to us as a panel, and we would decide if they were going to get access to this, or like an admin account, or were they going to get one for 24 hours, 48? Were they going to, so we were a panel, we were a gatekeeper, which was kind of cool. I mean, I like doing stuff like that too, because it kind of broke out my day. We'd meet weekly, and we'd have groups of different departments come and ask for things.
What's the DMZ committee? Like, you're just deciding, is that what you just described?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, sorry.
It was the DMZ committee was one, and then the other was a Windows security definition group.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cool.
Both were security related.
Yeah.
Which was cool. And that was it was a very large company, and it was an easy way to start networking with different people. I mean, it was huge. I mean, there was probably 9,000 IT folks there. And, as somebody that was coming in relatively new, I did like the documentation for our website. I was the gatekeeper for it, and it was VMware, Citrix, and Windows Server. and then I volunteered for these different, definition groups and committees.
Mm-hmm.
And I just met people fast, networked fast, and it made everything that I did after that easy because I knew people I could talk to.
Yeah.
And I developed friendships and networked, and if they didn't know, I could ask. So, it was, but
sorry, go ahead.
From a technology perspective, I mean, it's security and networking. I'm interested, but I really like what I'm doing. I've been a technical guy or a systems engineer or a solutions engineer most of my career. It's, being in sales has just been for a short time. I mean, not quite 4 years. So I really enjoy it. And I enjoy working with the customers on the tech as opposed to supporting the tech solely.
Yeah.
Going through change management and getting a call on the weekend, I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
And it kind of reinvigorated my career on the sales side. Plus, there are some advantages in sales that I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do tell.
I don't know. Money, commissions,
I know. Teasing.
Yeah. It's the opportunity that if you really, if you work hard and you make it through these longer sales cycles, and land a big deal, you're going to make some money. And it's incentive. I mean, who doesn't like incentives to go out and work hard and, bring in something? You win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose some. It's like, how did that happen? It's like, it was just laid out, and it doesn't happen, but that's why not everybody is in sales.
Yeah. That pressure is difficult, right?
It can be. It can be.
You had a deal that you thought was happening and it didn't happen, and you're like, damn, dude.
The keys don't spend the money before you have it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Put away a little nest egg for a rainy day. Yeah. It's an interesting world, man. Tech, because just like I think everything else is happening in our world where there's this constant momentum, pushing, driving sales, quarterly reviews, quarterly growth, a lot of pressure, and everyone feels that. So in a world where I kind of have this idealistic viewpoint of tech, it should be this magical, wonderful thing where we just shared this awesome moment with ChatGPT, and it gave us an entertaining time, and it was informational, educational, entertaining, right? And that's kind of how I have always viewed like my career. Like I get into things that are like fun for me. I'm enjoying it. It's entertaining. It's cool, and I always kind of call it like I always want to get into the sexier side of IT whenever I can. Get away from like supporting. Now having my company, I do get dragged into some support conversations that I don't want to be a part of. Like I do want to just do like the high level architecting, solution driving, business objective meeting, all that stuff, like meeting with the suits and ties and having kind of that whiteboard session. The whiteboard, I live for the whiteboard session. That's so much fun. If I could do whiteboard sessions my whole life, that would be a career I would be happy with, because I love laying out the solution. I love getting the data points and collecting them, drawing them up, and then taking all of that from the whiteboard session and then dumping it into like a formalized, solution. That's fun.
I agree. But I still do get some enjoyment out of, getting a phone call from a customer, and, it's like, look, I've read several different articles on these errors. I just want to run this by you.
Yeah, that's fun too.
It's kind of consultative, right? Yeah. It's not, there's really no pressure there, because you could always say, I don't know, man, you're going to have to call support.
Right.
But,
yeah,
it's kind of cool to dig into those, because it's another thing that kind of breaks up the monotony of what we do every day.
Right.
Because, every job is monotonous to a degree. And then, especially the longer time that you spend in it. So getting some things to kind of spin you off into something else to kind of, break up that, the mundane part of the day or what have you, just to get your mind spinning on something else and give you a boost. Cause maybe maybe that deal didn't close and, you needed a quick win. And that was a 15-minute phone call. You solved a problem and it's like you're a winner again.
Yeah.
So, we need that during the day.
Yeah, well, what I think you're driving at, and you mentioned this a few minutes ago without saying it, it's that there's the human experience. And that for me, and I describe like the magic of enjoying the technology and all that, but like you and I shared this laugh about the vampire hunter in Monte Carlo, like a technology provided that for us, that like fun moment that we'll like remember, like that was a funny thing when like the robot said, the car is good for, whatever, right? For running away from vampires. But just like that, like the customer called you and said, hey, Steve, you like, what's up? Like, let's look at this problem. And you're like, cool, let's look at it. Like, that's really what the job is. Whatever the job is, that's the job. Mm-hmm. It's like whatever your job title is, whatever you do for a living, however you get paid, it's like when someone calls you up and they trust you, they trust your opinion, and they say, hey, can you take a look at this thing? That's life, man. That's connecting to another human. That's building a relationship. That's sharing something. You're sharing in a struggle. I'm having a hard time with this. It's frustrating me. It's making my job harder. Can you help me out? And if you can do that, then you feel rewarded. You feel fulfilled. That person feels good too. Like my buddy Steve helped me out. Like that's life, man. So all this other shit about like quarterly objectives and growth and all that, I get that because you're in sales and I am in a way also in sales, but it's like that to me isn't life, It just feels like the relationship building, the connection, that's what technology is all about. Why do we even have technology? Why do we have a computer? Why do you have a computer and I have a computer that, like, this is your phone, that's my phone, and I can send you a message and we can share funny memes like we did earlier today. And it's like, you were like, man, I'm tired. And we shared a thing about a puppet or whatever, like dumb stuff we sent to each other. And it was like, that made us laugh. And it's like, cool. There's a connection that's happening between two people that even though you're not in the same room as me, like we had a fun friend moment and that's cool. And to me, that's technology.
It bounces the frequency.
Yeah.
I mean, it bounces the frequency up instead of, just kind of way down here. It's like, it got an emotion. It got stimulation of the mind.
Right.
So it's, raise the vibration.
Yeah. And that's so good. And that's what I want. I want to introduce solutions and technologies, not because I do want to make a living. Of course I want to make a living. I want to make money, but I want to do it in a way that it raises and elevates the vibrations of the people around me and that we're having fun together and we're connecting.
Yep.
And if we're not having fun doing this, and we're not enjoying life together, then what are we doing this for? What is the point of all this? Like it doesn't, to me, I see the lack of intention and purpose in that. If it's just strictly to meet a number that a computer came up with, that based on the metrics of the recent projections of it's like, you're not a human, man. Who are you? What is this machine telling me what kind of numbers I got to meet? It's like that to me isn't the heart of sales. And it shouldn't be.
Well, the numbers are given. Sometimes they're easily attainable, or a challenge. Sometimes they're, you're not going to attain that number that year for whatever reason. But it's the relationships that you have with your coworkers, your direct, folks that you're selling with, your leadership, and ultimately the customers. Because, those interactions with the customers are going to help you through that year. Maybe it's a tough year, but it's the relationships. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's, if you have solid relationships with your customers, when it comes time to have a hard conversation, it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think about, when you were talking about that, it makes me think about, like when people complain about support, like Microsoft support sucks, Citrix support sucks, Cisco support, like we can just name all the names, right? Everyone's support sucks or something. And when I hear that, if I break it down to the base level, it's like Bob, who's working on his stuff, is just frustrated. He feels alone. He can't find the solution to the thing. Their knowledge base doesn't give him the answer that he's looking for. And it's just, He's having a hard time. It's frustrating. It's annoying, right? It's like, why can't I just find the answer? And I call up the support people, and it's, what's your name? What's your customer number? What's your phone number? And it's like, don't you already have this stuff? It's so annoying. Right. Like, why don't, and what I'm hearing in all of that is that there's no relationship. There's no connection. And I'm Bob, and I'm feeling alone, and I just want someone that understands what I'm going through, that already knows my name and is already connected to me. And I can just call up and like, hey, Steve, can you just have a look at this for me? And it's like, just even if you don't have the answer, just knowing that they can call you, get some kind of progress, or at least a baseline, a framework of like what the issue is.
Right.
And then you can connect them to whoever it is that knows the answer. But just having that person, to me, if I'm a consumer of a product and would eliminate enterprise commercial stuff, I'm just Paul and I'm buying a phone or I'm buying a thing. I want to be able to reach that person.
Right.
And so in the last couple of years, I've been feeling this. I've been feeling this connection to be like more involved with local businesses. So this is something I've observed is that if I, like my daughter always wants to go to Starbucks. Starbucks is the thing. Kids know it's cool. It's the place where I can get a Frappuccino and whatever, right? And I can probably get away with murder because I can get my parents to buy me coffee even though I'm young and I'm not supposed to drink coffee, right? Right? Like a Starbucks is the place, right. And everything's cool and it's decorated and it just has the right decor and vibe and it's cool. But we know as like coffee drinkers, as adults, Starbucks doesn't make the best coffee.
No.
There's so much better coffee out there. But if I go to Starbucks here in Texas, if I go to Florida, California, New Mexico, if I go to Starbucks in the airport terminal in Japan, I'm going to get the same cup of coffee
right
across the globe, generally, arguably, right?
Yep.
So it's not the best cup of coffee. It's the most consistent cup of coffee. But then I don't have a connection. I don't really feel like a relationship because it's this massive global organization. So how would I feel more connected to Starbucks? Is if that I knew the manager of the store, if I knew the barista and I got connected to them and hey, Mary or Joe or whoever, exactly. Right? And that's building the relationship. Now I'm connected. I don't care about the organization. I care that I'm connected to Mary and Joe. That's my connection.
It's the people connection.
Right.
It's the relationship.
That's it, man. And that's the thing, and I think that for a while I lost that in technology, that I was so much involved in all of the numbers and all of the tech and all of the shuffling of the paperwork, and you work for a large corporation and there's a lot of these annual trainings and there's all this stuff that you got to do, and you're bogged down in all the minutia of the administrative stuff, and then you don't come up for air and realize like there's people out here, and it's hard to remember that.
We're people, we're not computers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the people factor that makes the difference.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the support,
Yeah, let's do it.
Support sucks. If because, I mean, support is cyclical. Just like, you think of, minor league baseball teams, farm systems, your first and second level support systems at every vendor. I mean, think of it as a farm system,
mm-hmm.
Your first and second level guys aren't going to be there for 10 years.
Right.
You're looking at 1, 2, 3 year cycles. So you're going to be flip flopping, and maybe you're fortunate enough to keep a handful of senior guys before the next churn. So, I mean, support is cyclical. I mean, it's a farm system because it's nobody goes into IT to be a first or second level support engineer forever.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's just part of the stair step. You're moving
exactly.
moving up the ladder.
So yeah, and it's easy to say and talk about, and it's easy to kind of paint the picture of it if you're not going through the problem that's not getting fixed at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't want to come off as I'm griping at level 1, level 2 guys. It wasn't about that. It was just like the feeling of I've been there, I've been the customer, and I've been calling for support, and I don't feel a connection or relationship because I'm calling some random person in a call center. I don't feel like like they're hearing me because they're asking me dumb questions in my mind that like, what's your customer number? Like, don't you know who I am? It's like frustrating.
Well, and I just wanted to point that out, from a cyclical factor because it's true. And, I think all of us have been a level 1 or level 2 guy before.
Sure.
And, we didn't like getting yelled at. So empathy, kind of going back to the human factor and empathy. No matter what you're going through, whatever problem. The one thing that I never really got too riled up about a computer problem, because there's a resolution.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be the greatest resolution that everybody wants to hear, but there's a solution to that problem.
Yeah.
It's a computer problem's not life or death. I mean, it could be money, but it's usually not life or death. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to paint the picture that I'm at all
no,
mad or yelling at people. But I was on a rant there for a minute, so thanks for bearing with me, everyone.
I just wanted to add color to it.
Yeah,
it
does.
Because everybody's been on a phone call with somebody that has irritated them or asked them, the same question over and over again. And we've all been in those situations, but let's get back to empathy and the human factor. It's
absolutely, man. Let's remember that we're working
human.
A job.
We're human. We're not ChatGPT.
I know.
We're not just going to spit out all the answers for you. And then if you ask for, some creative writing, it's just not going to, do it for us. So yeah.
Yeah, talking about the cyclical thing, it's interesting because when I was a senior engineer, and I'd have to call for like complex issues we were having in the environment, talking about Citrix specifically, is if I called and opened a ticket with a day crew, well, that's day in the U.S. What is that in the call center that's based in India? I think it's Mumbai is where they're located. They got a couple of them. There's one in like Florida or North Carolina or something. Anyway, they got the one in India. They got the one in Ireland, the support centers. But if you call during the day and you get the guys in India, that's their night crew. That's their night crew. So they don't staff the way that they talk. Like any human doesn't want to work a graveyard shift if they can avoid it. They want to work 9 to 5 because then they can see their kids after school and all. Like they're humans, right? They're just living their life. So anyone working the night shift is usually the less experienced people because of seniority, right? You think about a job, you think about, who gets the day job, who gets the night job. Well, the senior guys that have put in the time and the effort, they get the shift to the day shift.
And the F&Gs get the night shift.
They do. Well, what's interesting, though, is that as I'm calling from American time zone, so during my normal workday, I'm getting the F&Gs. But
because they're working the night shift.
Yeah, it's their nighttime across the globe.
But they're covering,
Right. So
that happens with everyone that has a call center.
So what I would, exactly. So not blaming any brand name, I'm just saying this is my experience. And so what I would do is I would stay late after work, and around 8 o'clock, I would call and put in the ticket and get a dude on the phone. So a level 2 dude day shift in India is like far superior to a level 2 dude in the night shift in India.
Right.
So I would stay late. So I shifted my time to the more experienced people. When I would work and call for support, I was working late hours so that I could get the better people on the phone. And it's really like a noticeable difference in the skill set because they've seen more, they've been working on the tech longer, and then they have the answers. So interesting thing about the cyclical patterns is like if you are in it long enough and you observe that, then you know how to kind of play the game a little bit.
Yeah, you manipulate the call system.
Yeah. One thing that drives me nuts though is that I'll call in with a product that is very obviously an on-prem product, and they'll say, "Is this in the cloud?" And that question drives me nuts because I know what it is. It's a marketing question. They know that product is not in the cloud. They know the product suite. Like, don't ask me if it's in the cloud. You're asking me about cloud so that I start thinking about cloud. And then now I'm like, well, should we go in the cloud? Like, it's the little marketing game. And I'm like, don't do that on the support level. Don't play with me on that. And I know it's an on-prem product. Let's not ask that question. So anyway, I'm just ranting about it. I don't ever actually get into it with them about it. Just like, whatever.
Seeds are planted every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, man. What do you see as far as like compatibility of things? So let me kind of elaborate. Like what we see is a lot of the common names that are merged together. So like Microsoft, works very well with Citrix because you've got the, like, say, a Windows server, and then you've got the Citrix VD, the agent that sits on the Windows server. I'll try not to use acronyms for people that don't know, but like you'll have the Citrix agent that sits on the Windows server, and they all collaborate very well together, and they even have their little conferences where they do internal software development stuff together. And you've got some other things like VMware. They have their little deal together with some Citrix and Microsoft stuff. They all want to make sure their stuff works together. What are some things that you see like that doesn't work so well together?
Well, when you're talking about the large vendors or the large public cloud, you know, call it your big threes. You know, just like you have your big three in the auto, you know, you have the big three in virtualization, you have big three in cloud, you have big three in security. I think all of those vendors are going to play relatively nice together because, you know, it's going to pay, because if the more that people that are using those technologies, the more they're going to have to integrate in. So, I mean, I think the trend stays the same. You know, you're going to have some outliers. You're going to have some, you know, somebody that's filling a gap that, you know, some of these big threes aren't filling. That, you know, they kind of hit the market a little bit, but, you know, in the end, I think, you know, it's those big vendors are going to play nice together, you know, at least for the foreseeable future, for at least for, you know, the next 5 years, let's say, because
Sure.
I don't think anybody can look past 5 years.
It's hard to. It's hard to, for sure.
Well, I mean, tech's going to change so much in the next 3.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think about like the lack of development, because you've got companies laying off software developers, and because they got to look at the bottom line. Again, we're getting back to like maybe a little less than a human viewpoint and more of like a numbers, robotic, mechanical viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then what does that do to your 3-year outlook, your 5-year outlook if you lay off all these developers? Because then you've got these dudes that are working on a lot of this software. But then if you have less people working on that software, let's say like we're talking big 3 cloud, right? So you got Azure, AWS, and Google. So if there's a lot of effort being put into Google and Azure, but not as much into AWS because that team of developers was laid off or sized down or something, or transferred to other teams or something. So then that means there's less attention on that thing, and that company is looking over their bottom line to do that. But then what are they doing to the course of future tech in general?
Well, I mean, they're potentially creating new startups. I mean, those developers could team together, and develop a product, and then end up selling that back to that particular company. You know, it happens.
That's a great point.
You know, it's, you know, I think layoffs that happen, you know, they've been happening for a long time. You know, it's nothing new.
Sure.
In a way, it shakes up the industry a little bit, you know, makes people think a little bit more, maybe push outside their boundaries a little bit, and actually, you know, work out for the better. I mean, been through quite a few layoffs. I've seen quite a few. And everybody I know that has been through one landed on their feet, if not in a better place.
Sure.
You know, it's our only limitations ourselves. So don't limit yourself.
Yeah. I've observed that you make the biggest raise in your pay when you go to another company. So actually, like being laid off or quitting or whatever, right? Like if you leave your company, like then you go get that next job. That next job usually pays significantly more. The way that if you're negotiating properly,
right,
pay significantly more than what you were making before at the other company. And if you had stayed at that original company, when it's time for a raise, what are they giving you? They're giving you 3%, 5%. And have you ever heard of a 10% raise? I mean, that's maybe if you really killed it.
Usually those types of raises come with a promotion.
Right.
So.
Yeah, 10% if you get a promotion. 3 to 5% if you just stay in the same position.
Yep.
That seems to be pretty standard.
Yep.
But yeah, to like, if you're like, man, I have to get to this next level. How do I break through this membrane? It's like, it seems that like, especially in tech, I don't know anyone listening if you're like in some kind of like HR or marketing or whatever. I don't know that. I don't know the pay scales there, but for tech, you have to leave and go somewhere else to get the big bumps. Oh,
Yeah,
little cough or a sneeze or something coming.
Yeah, it was coming.
Yeah.
But, you know, there was a period of time in tech where, you know, people would, I mean, they would job hop like every 18 months.
Yeah.
And then there was a period of time where that really wasn't that acceptable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you had to spend a little bit of time somewhere.
Yeah.
And not just chase the money. I mean, because ultimately, I mean, you want to grow to your full potential during that time frame. You know, if something happens and, you know, there's a layoff, or, you know, something happens and, you know, you have to go. You know, take the experience you have and better yourself. But I mean, I think it's better to grow into a role than to continually push. Let's say, you know, you graduate with a business administration degree and your goal is to be VP. And you just jump, and you never really get to sit and learn in a role, you know, whether it's, you know, a mid-tier manager, and you don't get to learn maybe enough about people, teams, and other things. I mean, you're just on this hell-bent path to become a VP. You know, there's things that you miss along the road. I mean, you got to grow into the positions if you have the, you know, afforded the ability to do so, you know, either by the company or by your own circumstances. So, I mean, there's something to be said about the journey from graduation to, you know, where you think you're going to end your career, or, you know, maybe you retire and you want to, you know, be an entrepreneur, and, you know, there was this little cool tech niche thing that you wanted to do and you go do it. You know, it's about the journey. It's not necessarily how fast, but, you know, it's the people along the way.
It is, man. That's good. I almost felt like you were quoting Aerosmith there for a second. Life's a journey, not a destination.
I do sometimes reply in lyrics.
Yeah, it's good. I think about lyrics all the time, or like movie quotes or something. Right. And it's like, okay, I can't always reply in that because people are like, what?
Somebody's going to pick up on it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. You do see that there are people. I was just talking to a friend yesterday, 2 days ago. You see people that are on this breakneck speed trajectory to get to the top of whatever organization, and that's great. If that's like totally what they're into, they want to be the VP, the SVP, whatever of some division, and they want to get it up there. Because I did. Everyone's a different flavor, you know, of ice cream, different color of the rim. Like, everyone's got their different things. So if that's what you want to do, absolutely go for that. If that really gives you value and you're super excited about that. But you touched on that. Like, while you're doing that, though, it's like, are you developing those relationships? Are you remembering that we're all people doing this? And or is it like just about the job and it's just about the career, and you kind of left the human part out of it, and you've just kind of been racing up the ladder?
And it's developing your network, and it's a network of people. Some become friends, some are coworkers, some are acquaintances. But, you know, during our work journeys, our life journeys, these people can help us down the road just by networking, staying in touch, keeping those relationships going. You know, anything could happen down the road where it's like, oh man, you know, I know somebody over here. I was like, let me reach out to them. You know, I'll reach out to, you know, one of my buddies' his name is TZ. He's lives in Illinois. You know, it's he and I, you know, I started at State Farm. We became really good friends. I have friends at every company that I've worked at.
Yeah.
And, you know, some we stay in touch more frequently than others. I mean, I have friends that were some of my customers. You know, they left the company they were working at, but we still remain friends. You know, it's human connections.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, you know, I collect good people.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's really why I like, there's an aspect of it, like you can be on this breakneck speed running up the ladder, but then I think that as you're up there, you can call yourself an expert at something or a leader of something or whatever, right? Whatever you want to call it for that category of thing. But then have you gone back to darken the color shading of that, of the beginner level, of the intermediate level? Like, have you shaded that in to where there's a depth of knowledge?
Right.
And is that necessary? Because now you're at the top, you've raced up to the top, you've gotten the rank or the promotion or whatever, and now you can just deepen your knowledge of that rank versus the lower one. So yeah, you raced up there, you got the pay, you got the title, the status, and you're deepening your knowledge of that. But then I'm wondering, like, well, do you have an empathy for the people at the lower level because you don't have a deepened understanding of that level because you just raced through it?
That would be a question for somebody that fast-tracked that race.
Right.
But I would venture to say that there are some regrets.
I don't know.
But, you know, 99 problems, but money ain't one.
Yeah.
But, you know, but that's, you know, that journey shouldn't only be about the money, right? I mean, it's, you know, you really want to lead a company. You want to do good things. You know, it's not just about the money.
Yeah, it can't be.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, shouldn't, can't. I mean, I just feel like at the end of the day, you're 70 years old and you're wondering, like, I didn't know half the people I worked with because I was just busy, like, focused on the work. And that seems to me to be like a terrible revelation to have too late in your life.
Agreed.
You can't have that revelation after it's too late. That's just, there's no going back, and there's got to be regret there, right? But I don't know. I mean, maybe you race to the top, you get the job, you're getting the money, and now you build the relationships. So maybe it happens backwards or out of a different order.
Yeah. It wasn't my trajectory, so I don't know if it's a win-win, win-lose, lose-win. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think there's still something to be said about the journey and just the connections that you make with people, because I think that's the most important.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it, because I'm involved in so many different things, and I'm not saying it's the right thing to be or do, but I'm involved in so many different things that I'm not the master of one thing. I'm not the best podcast guy on the planet. I'm not the best IT services company owner. I'm not the best whatever. But I love to get involved in a bunch of different things. And for me, that's fun because I want to try new things. I want to try new experiences. And like you said, it's the journey. There's no necessary destination that I'm approaching. Like, I do have things where I'll have, like, intention setting sessions, and I whiteboard and I brainstorm and I write things down, and it's like, okay, Paul 2023, what do I want Paul to be like in 25? You know, who is that person? I'll build an avatar, and, like, this is what he does, this is who he hangs out with, this is what his Tuesday night looks like, and I map that out, and I'm probably, like, over engineering the shit out of my life, but this is what I do. I think about my next 2-3 years future. Who do I want that person to be? I picture like a video game. You know, you build your character, and I'm like, I want him to have this gun, and he's gonna wear these boots and this hat or whatever, right? Like, you're building out your little video game guy, and I want his strength levels to be this, and the speed, agility, and all that. And you pay for the upgrades, and just like you do in real life, and but you got to put in the work in real life. And so I build my avatar out of what I want it to look like, and then I reverse engineer it back to today, and I say, okay, let me start working on this thing. If this is what I want, in 2 years I want to have this many more customers for my business, then I've got to put in the work to do that. And how do I do that? So now I got to reverse engineer how to make that happen. But by 2 or 3 years from now, I'm going to have that many customers based on the plan I made for myself. And I don't know where I was going with this, but that was just talking about building my future. And it doesn't have to do with running up a ladder. It has to do with just, like, the experience.
Yeah, I mean, you're experiencing different things.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, you're going a quarter mile deep instead of a mile deep on lots of different things. And the beautiful thing about that is during that process you're networking with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
If you're staying in one place going this deep, you're gonna, after you get a quarter mile deep, you're gonna be dealing with people that just think a lot differently about different things. And you may not meet some of these other people that you can network with that are actually going to help you get to that end avatar that you want.
Yeah. I would say, well, let me ask you this. If there were 2 or 3 things that you could say, because you don't want for your life, I have observed this. I have to preface my question to you. But I have observed that it's great going a quarter mile deep into a bunch of different things because it's fun and it's exciting. But then you literally lack depth, for different things. And so this is what I've observed about myself is that it's fun because I know I want to jump into a bunch of different things, but that's not good for me in the long run. I need to have some kind of depth on something. Mm-hmm. So if we revisit that analogy earlier, which I have the 3 different levels, I've got the 3 lighter colors in those categories, but really going back and deepening the color saturation and the skill set and the knowledge on that. So what are 2 or 3 things you'd say in your life that are like you've saturated those colors, you've deepened your knowledge and kind of gained some mastery?
A lot of it has been, it's not even technical.
Mm-hmm.
It's more diving into myself, because we're our only limit. I mean, our mind can limit us from doing anything. You can dive as deep as you want into anything you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can fill in those colors. It's just doing it. Do it. Fail fast. Fail often. And keep down the path. Don't give up. I mean, that's really it, because it's not always just going to be work.
Right.
It's going to be, work's only, let's call it 25%. If that. There's so many other life things that get in the way that, you have to master yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I wasn't meaning to ask if it's like specifically work or technical, but just anything. Like, I know you're big in the reggae.
I love music, and I find peace in music.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an art, and some people like it, some people don't, and I kind of gravitate to the people that do like it. There's some paintings, I look at and go, man, that's awesome. And there's some I go, that's crap.
Yeah.
And people do the same thing with music, and that's kind of how you find your people,
Sure. Yeah.
Whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's, it's a sport, whether it's, you find your people that you vibe with. And that helps you on your journey as well. I mean, just to finding yourself and, ultimately being comfortable with yourself. I mean, if you can take yourself out to lunch, take yourself out to dinner, go to a movie, go for a walk, go for a jog. If you can do those things by yourself, I mean, you're comfortable in your own skin, and you can do anything. You don't need anybody's approval.
Why do you think that is, that people are typically afraid of like going out, especially to the movie alone? That seems like a real line that people draw.
I mean, it's a social thing. It's like you're just going to buy a ticket for one. What are you, a sociopath?
Right.
What's wrong with you?
Right.
You can't, you're not going to take the selfie with, you and your popcorn. It's like, here I am at the movies, or maybe you will, but I think it's the way it looks socially. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
well, that person's by themselves. What's wrong? No, what's right? It's like, you've been sitting here on your phone, you got 3 people with you and you've been spending all your time on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, this guy that just came in, you know, he set his phone down, got his menu, ordered a drink, ordered some hors d'oeuvres, looking around, you know, just kind of observing.
Looking around like a sociopath.
It's got to go there, right?
No. Well, that's the joke, though, right? That's not actually true, but that is the joke.
That is, yeah. So it's, I mean, it's kind of that social thing, and social media is so big. I mean, it's everything is social. You know, it's not alone. You know, it's, but you, I mean, you could be sitting at a table of 5 and still be alone.
That's what makes me curious about technology is that, and you gave me an idea about a social media account. You make one where a guy or a girl or whatever just goes and does weird, awkward social things alone. So they go to a movie and take a selfie with the popcorn and they're by themselves. And then you have them go to the zoo by themselves. And there's just like a whole social media profile of like awkward alone pictures, like in places where you should be with someone, but you're not.
But I mean that, you know, there are points in our life where we need that, you know, it's, you know, and it could be different. It's different parts for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it could be something catastrophic that happened. Let's say a divorce, a breakup, a death, you know, and there's a level of healing and a level of, you know, getting to know you that you need. And, you know, not that I was thinking this was going to be some kind of a spiritual, you know, thing that we were going to talk about today, but, you know, getting to know yourself and being comfortable is huge. It's huge in every interaction that you have. It's huge in every relationship. It's huge on how you react to, you know, potential verbal altercations or verbal attacks or people that, you know, verbally attack you, you know, even if it, you know, let's call it a bully, you know, if you're comfortable with this, there is nothing that anybody can say to you that is going to break you. So.
Yeah, I think having those alone times where you analyze yourself, you confront yourself about your own BS, you have those conversations with yourself. I think that does create some mental fortitude and a little bit of some maturity. I think those alone times are necessary. I'll go to movies alone. I'll go to lunch alone. I don't make it like my normal deal, but I do have those moments, and it makes me concerned that I can be comfortable in the entertainment of my own mind in a public space and be fine. But if you see like a group of teenage girls or boys or something, they're hanging out, and especially if you go to a mall, you go to the food court, you're talking 5 people at the table, and they're all staring at their phone. And I'm like, you're not actually gaining any value out of that experience. You're all staring into something that's not providing any depth at all. And they call it social media, but it's completely antisocial. It makes me worry. I got a teenage daughter, and
it's isolation.
You're totally isolated.
I mean, it ruins relationships.
Yeah.
It completely disconnects you.
And that's the part of technology I'm concerned about.
Me too.
Because I talk about I love the magic of tech. I love how it brings us together, but it has to be unifying. It has to be a thing that really brings us together and makes us feel fulfilled and complete, and that we're actually coming away from the experience higher elevation. The vibes have elevated, right? And if I've stared into my phone into the abyss and watched a bunch of pictures on a social media thing of people that look like they're living their best life and they look amazing. They all have 6-packs and chiseled muscles and they're all living in the best, you know, van off the next to the beach and stuff. You're like, damn, my life sucks compared to that. But you don't understand, like, the manufacturing of that picture took hours of work. And they took 800 pictures to get to that perfect one that they posted, and they did the filter and the lighting and all the stuff. And it's a whole fake thing. It's not real. And you look at that picture and you feel like a piece of shit because your life isn't like that. And you don't realize what these people are, what their reality is living behind the scenes and stuff. And so, yeah, that piece of technology concerned me.
Well, I mean, it's probably going to go against a lot of things, but I don't live for followers. You know, I know some things we need followers for. And there are things that I do follow. But me as a human, I don't need a follower. I mean, I have a circle of friends that I'm close to, and we just take care of each other.
Right.
We don't follow each other. We just take care of each other.
Right.
If somebody's down and out, we help each other out.
Yeah. It's interesting because if you go back to some kind of tribe or something, right? You go back thousands of years, there's a tribe, it's like, follow me. I'll be outside of my tent at 3:00. And they're like, we all live together, Connie. Like, we're not following you. Like, we're all together. We're already together. There's nowhere to follow or lead or any of that stuff. And we're not influencing anyone. We're just all together living our life. And that doesn't have to be so spectacular.
Right.
But it can be fulfilling and rewarding. But you touched on something like, I'm making a podcast. I want listeners. I want people to listen to it and have a good time and be entertained and stuff. And it would be great if there was like a bunch of, thousands of people listening to it. But I'm doing this because we're having fun.
Right.
And, at the point that I stop having fun, one follower or 50,000, like if I stop having fun doing it, I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
I'm having fun. It's a cool way. Like you and I have been friends for a number of years. And it's only now in this conversation, like I'm learning things about you, and so it's cool. Like I just feel like I'm getting a chance to have a conversation with a friend in a format that gives me more information about you, and from my point of view, like deepens the relationship. And to me, I hope that like people listening will be like, oh, that's cool. I want to hear more of that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this has been fun. We've been talking for quite a while.
Yeah, man.
It's gone pretty quick. It's
usually how it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it. So
yeah, man. Well, we can end here if you're all tapped out. You got that 5 a.m. wake up. You're looking at.
Well, I woke up at 5 this morning. Yeah. It's getting used to waking up at 5 a.m. has been a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's something I want to do. So
that's great, man.
The only problem is I want to go to bed at 10.
Yeah.
And I don't like to go to bed at 10. I prefer 11:30.
Right. So,
getting used to, that 6-ish hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking me a minute. So.
Well, 10 to 5, you get 7 hours. That's okay. It's pretty good.
But I prefer 11:30.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
But, 7 hours is perfect. If I go to bed at 10, it's perfect. But it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, 7 hours feels like the threshold. Like if I'm getting less than 7, I'm kind of like, okay, I can go a couple days like this, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
And then after a few days, then I start becoming another person.
Right.
It's not going so well.
Yeah. The Hulk. You won't like me when I get angry and turn green.
No, that's if I'm hungry.
Oh.
Yeah, that's where the Hulk comes out. Yeah. Which is weird because you should be depleted and tired and like drained of energy because you're hungry. But instead it's just like it becomes just like anything will set me off, man. I'm just so cranky. But I think I've learned this. I got a couple nutritionist friends, and it's like I've learned that if you get this like hanger thing, it's probably because your diet is not properly regulated. You shouldn't have these sugar crashes,
you shouldn't be going like this.
Right.
The peaks and valleys.
Yeah. So you should be able to sustain yourself and be okay emotionally and mentally and all that, even if you've missed a meal. Like you should be evenly regulated. So it's a sign to me that when I do get hangry, I'm doing something wrong, like nutritionally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Teaches me something. Yeah. Well, dude, I've enjoyed this. I want to do, they've got this reggae festival coming in April.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
It's the one I took your mom to where you were in the Ukraine.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, that's, you are the first one to drop that bomb because I was going to tell everyone about Ukraine. I haven't done that yet, but we're definitely going to.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not like I own the whole thing, but yeah, I'll be talking about that soon in some videos, everyone. But you know what? Actually, if I could take a second, I do want to talk about it. Do I still have the thing put up there, John? I do want to mention this. Guys, everyone listening, I'm not going to get too far into the details about the Ukraine stuff, but I'm going to put a link in the videos and stuff about this. But over the weekend, a friend of mine was killed in Ukraine. Another guy's desperately fighting for his life, wounded, and another guy was severely wounded as well. But these guys got really messed up, and just really caught off guard. I don't know if off guard is the right way to say it. I don't have a lot of the details, but I just know they all got shot up pretty bad. So one of our other friends is flying out there to go help the parents with the funeral, and but we just want to get support if we can from anyone that's willing to support it. Funeral costs, medical expenses, transportation, home or wherever they may need to get transported. They're just going to be, whether the two guys that are alive right now come out of it, they're going to be coming out of it with some severe injuries that may be lifelong. So we want to have anyone that's willing to support. I'll put the link in there. You go to the PayPal, but if you can go to ifundukraine.org, and that's our nonprofit organization that we started by volunteers that were in Ukraine. So we've been on the ground. We know the situation. We know what the need is for medical supplies, logistic support, equipment, all of those things. And then so these guys are going to need help financially. And you've got all these billions of dollars rolling over there, but that's for like artillery equipment, rockets, it's all things that go boom, but none of the money is going towards like the after effects of like people that are injured. The families need to put
the volunteers.
The volunteers especially, yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot. Ukraine is doing an outstanding job, and I don't want to take anything away from them. Like, they're doing an outstanding job supporting all of the people, including the volunteers, like medically and stuff, but we don't know what the long-term effects are. They're not going to live in Ukraine necessarily. They got to go back home at some point. Like, let's help them out and cover those costs. So that's what this fundraiser is about, guys, and I'll put the link in there, but I appreciate everyone that's willing to hear about it. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to be doing a lot more talking about Ukraine because I'm putting together some videos. So I'll have some guests on that talk about it, and that's about that. So thanks for letting me interrupt our thing and talk about it. You kind of brought it up, so
no worries.
Since we're on it.
All right. I appreciate you having me on, Paul.
Dude, it's been awesome. Great, Steve. Thanks, man. And
maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah, and let's go to that reggae festival. Absolutely. And the zombie run.
Absolutely.
Fun.
Yeah, yep. 2 things to add to the bucket list.
Yeah, let's do it, brother.
All right.
All right. See you, man.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Peace.
See ya.